Just who is who on Doctor Who?
Oh, so you're all my replacements. A dandy and a clown.
The three doctors will be there, will you? Tonight at 8 on Galaxy.
Before we embark on the Doctor Who story, The Three Doctors, where William Hartnell, Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee are seen together in the same story for the first time, we've time to find out a bit more behind the scenes. First of all, we're joined by two key figures who helped to make that story, the Brigadier, Nicholas Courtney, and the script editor at the time, Terence Dix. Terence, why was it put together?
It was really that it was an anniversary show, and we wanted to do something special. And an idea that had come up again and again from fans very often is, why not have all the Doctors appearing together? And so we dismissed it at first, and then suddenly we thought, maybe that's not such a bad idea, and we contacted them all, and they all wanted to do it, and that's how it happened.
How did they all get on with each other, though?
Well, William Hartnell, the oldest, only made a kind of quite small appearance because he was not very well and had to be largely pre-filmed. You might say there was a certain rivalry between Patrick Troughton and John Pertwee, but which lent a nice kind of edge and tension to the scenes, you know, because they were vying with each other quite a lot, which was fun.
So the Brigadier's role was quite a vital link, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, he was trying to calm those two doctors down who kept on arguing with each other, you know, Pertwee and Troughton. And, of course, the Brigadier was horrified by all this. He'd been used to Patrick Troughton. Then John Pertwee came along, and then the two of them together must have blown his mind.
So what happened 10 years later then, in the 20th anniversary, when there were 5 of them?
The 5 Doctors. Well, most of most of the stuff I did in 5 Doctors was with Pat Troughton. By then, the Brigadier was used to the face changing. He just got used to it, and he accepted it
just
with great
well,
resignation.
really, yeah.
Yes, just as well.
Terence, you actually wrote that one yourself, didn't you? The 5 Doctors, the 20th anniversary.
That's right, yeah.
Tell us about the complexities of writing that sort of a story.
It was very difficult, but of course, you know, you got 5 leading actors, all of whom, you know, you had to give a good scene and a good line and make them feel that they were really important. And of course, you've got Peter Davison, who was the current Doctor, who really had to be given a sort of ascendancy. The way I got round it basically was by pairing people off, so that Nick was mostly with the Patrick Troughton Doctor, and they did their kind of wonderful double act together, you know. And I would pair off a companion and a Doctor. So that really we only had 2 kind of ensemble scenes, one at the beginning, then they all went off and attacked the problem from different ends, and then we brought them all together for the grand finale, you know, the walk down, as they say in pantomime terms.
Well,
Nick said goodbye to them all, didn't he?
Yes, I did indeed. Splendid chaps, all of them.
And we'll be able to see the 3 Doctors shortly. Thanks for joining us. John.
K9 became Doctor Who's best canine friend during the Tom Baker era, and he was created by 2 very experienced Doctor Who writers, David Martin and Bob Baker. Welcome, gentlemen, to 31 Who. Thank you. Now, perhaps you could tell me how you came to invent this marvellous invention.
We were doing a show called The Invisible Enemy, and as usual, we got into a mess with the scientific explanation of it. So we needed something, well, a stupid scientific explanation of it. So we needed something to get over that thing and to answer all the Doctor's problems. You know, when you have one person, he's got to have somebody to talk to. So this was called Pluto for a long time, knowing that Disney wouldn't let us use Pluto. And one night, over a couple of bottles of this and that, K9 sprang to mind.
Yeah, well, I think the real reason it sprang to mind was that Dave had some rather fine Springer dogs and lost 2 of them. And I think maybe he wanted an indestructible dog, you know, to create it. And I think this was it.
Did you ever envisage it would take off in quite the way that it did?
We had no idea at all. We put it in as the companion of Professor Marius in that story. And it was Robert Holmes who rang us after we'd finished the story and said, we'd like to keep him on. Can you rewrite that end of the scene so that he gives him to the Doctor at the end?
Yeah.
And that's how it came about.
There then resulted a huge volume of merchandise related to K9.
Yes, there was talking canines and badgers and goodness knows what.
Jelly babies.
Jelly babies, yes.
Jewellery.
Chocolates.
Jewellery, great. Let's move on to the three doctors now. Can you tell us anything about the problems of writing for three central characters?
Well, I think as soon as we got the typewriter set up and called them Doctor 1, 2 and 3, it became simple. But when we just kept putting the Doctor down, it did get confusing because we didn't know what was going on.
No, yes. And the biggest
all
thing,
thanks
of course,
to Terence Dix.
yes. The biggest thing, of course, was suddenly we were told in the middle of the whole thing that Hartnell wouldn't be able to appear in it. And we thought, and what do we do here? So he appeared in this ball, as we know.
Yes.
Because he, poor old soul, was
still very successful there. Sharma.
We hope to be able to contact one of the doctors, if this works, that is. John Pertwee, welcome to 31 Who. How did you get your job as the Doctor?
I was making a program called The Navy Lark, and an actor called Tenniel Evans said to me, why don't you put yourself up for Doctor Who? I understand Patrick Troughton is leaving. And so I suggested it to my agent, and there was a terrible pause on the other end of the phone, and I said, it's all right. It's not such a good idea, I understand. And he said, no, I don't think it's a very good idea, but I'll try. And he rang up and he spoke to Derek Sherwin, who was the then producer. And he said, I've got a suggestion to take over from Patrick Troughton, my client John Pertwee. And there was a very, very long pause at the other end of the telephone. And Richard Stone, my agent, said, yes, I had exactly the same reaction. And Derek Sherwin said, no, you got it wrong. He said, may I read you my short list? And Richard said, I'd like to hear it, yes. And he said, well, your client's name, John Pertwee, is number 2 on our short list and has been for 18 months. So there was an extraordinary thing that I put myself up for a job that I'd been considered for 18 months without knowing it.
Well, the show was at the height of its popularity then. Were you a fan?
No, not really. My first wife, Jean Marsh, was in Doctor Who, and she suggested that I tuned in and watched her, which I did, and I thought it was splendid. I thought it was very good indeed. I liked enormously the performance by Doctor Who #1, William Hartnell. But I haven't watched a lot of it since. I haven't had much chance after I left it. I used to watch it when I was on, but then I'm my type.
Did you have a favourite monster?
Yes, I did. I didn't like the Daleks very much. They looked like a lot of tennis balls stuck on some cardboard with a sink pump and an egg whisk. I liked the Draconians because the Draconians were wonderful, knobbly-faced characters with coxcomb headdresses, and they had big sort of lumps all over their faces. And because they were using half masks then, which you had this, which just showed the human eye, but left the mouth alone, so that you had this full movement of the mouth. What was wrong, I think, with the early monsters like Ice Warriors and Cybermen was that when they spoke, they spoke like it's nothing rude, you see, or Dalek voices who came from the bowels of the earth. I liked seeing faces move and eyes being shown. You can have no expression without the human mouth or without the eye.
Are you still recognised as Doctor Who?
Yes, with a nose like mine, it'd be hard not to be. There's not another nose like this in show business. I'm either recognised as 3 people, as Doctor Who, which is sort of popular, John Pertwee, which is very popular because one likes to be remembered for oneself and what one has done apart from 2 big culty successes, and Wurzel Gummidge, which the kids recognised. This rather shook me, of course, because I was firmly under the impression that under that great big rubber nose and all those corn husk eyebrows and straw wigs and all those clothes, that nobody would recognise me. But it makes not the slightest bit of difference. I walk down the street and somebody says, look here, there's old Wurzel. So there it goes. So it's the 3, Wurzel, me, and the Doctor. And I'm not complaining. I like it.
John, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, after the break, we have a special 4-part story to celebrate the programme's 10th anniversary. It is, as we've already said, written by our guests Bob Baker and Dave Martin and unites the 3 Doctors to date, John Pertwee, Patrick Troughton and William Hartnell, though the latter's contribution was restricted to appearances on the TARDIS screen, as at the time he was quite ill. Katie Manning is the Doctor's female companion Jo Grant, and the Brigadier, Captain Yates and Sergeant Benton are firmly entrenched as luminaries of the United Nations Intelligence Task Force unit, for whom the Doctor is a scientific advisor. Stay tuned for the Three Doctors after the break.